If you all were anything like us this past Sunday, then you were on the very edge of your seats, waiting to see whose performance and flair drew us into the show. And in the end, one star from each division rose like a phoenix and was crowned MVP of the WWE Royal Rumble and punched their ticket to WrestleMania. Spoiler alert, we review the Royal Rumble of 2020, this time on Wrestling with the Business.
It's time once again to get with your boys at Wrestling with the Business, and we're officially on the voyage to WrestleMania, because it's a pirate gimmick. Yeah. The Royal Rumble's in the books. We've got the main events for WrestleMania seemingly set, so we're gonna review this show. Right off the bat, I'm going to say this was a very, very good pay-per-view. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What'd you think, Jer?
Yeah, I would say as far as pay-per-views go, this was definitely the best one since SummerSlam. Certainly the best one since SummerSlam. Maybe the best one since last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was good. So we'll run through the card quick, but just like in our predictions video, main focus is going to be on the two Royal Rumble matches, because let's face it, that's why we were all there. So start off with the pre-show. You correctly guessed the setup for these matches. They had two matches on the pre-show, 2-hour pre-show, like I thought it would be. Overall, the entire show ended up being just over 6 hours long, but there were only a total, counting the Rumble matches, there were only 8 matches on the card. So starting out,
each Rumble match was an hour long.
Yep.
So
starting out, we had the returning Sheamus versus your boy Shorty G. I expected this to be a quick match.
It was not a quick match. It was a very good match. I thought that this would be one of the better matches of the night. I think you were a little bit more skeptical about this one.
Yep.
I thought that this match told a really good story. Sheamus is in great shape. Shorty's a good wrestler. They worked very well together in the match. More than any other match in the show, I thought that this one told a good story. It was evenly paced. I can't remember how long it was, maybe 12 or 15 minutes.
12 and a half.
Something like that. How long?
12 and a half minutes.
Okay, perfect. So it was a decent length. Sheamus had a couple really nice moments where he played to the crowd and really kind of got him pumped up a little bit, and that's the whole idea of the show. You know, you're basically the opening act, right? And he took that role seriously. And I think they both put on a really good show. I really liked it. I thought it was a great way to kick off the program.
Yeah. I went in with low expectations. They surprised me. Sheamus beat Shorty G. Shorty got a little cut on his ear, too. Started out with a little color.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, listen, wrestling's totally fake, so that's
Yep.
That's fake blood.
Absolutely. The other match on the pre-show was the United States Championship. The champion Andrade defending against Humberto Carrillo. This was Humberto's third or fourth match for the U.S. title, and he lost again. Where does Humberto go from here?
Yeah, I don't know, because they're giving him enough. They seem to be trying to build intensity, right? I mean, the last match, ended with a DDT on the bare cement. I think they're definitely still trying to build intensity. If Humberto Carrillo ends up going on and winning the United States Championship, I think it's going to be really good. However, he can't wait until WrestleMania. This is just they've already been playing this same song too long. He needs to win it before then. And if not, yeah, it's going to be another one of those. Why did you even bother? What was the point of the quest? Evil will always overcome good, and the little guy Umberto Carrillo in this instance really doesn't stand a chance against the big guy. So,
yep.
I think he has to win. I think that an interesting opportunity has opened up, given that Andrade has been served a 30-day suspension for a wellness policy violation, and I do believe they have to defend every 30 days, right?
Which was surprising, because the following night on Raw this past week, Umberto was in yet another United States Championship match and yet lost again. So now, like you said, Andrade's going into that 30-day suspension, but he still has the title, so not sure where they're going to go from here.
He's going to have to come back and defend it the first night. We should really watch that, and we should Twitter troll WWE if he doesn't come back that first night after 30 days and defend the title.
Yeah.
We should just troll the living crap out of him, set it on auto troll, and just roll up on everybody. Start tagging in every WWE superstar we can find, because kayfabe is being broken here, and I demand a better quality product. Get the AEW boys involved. I'm sure they'll jump all over that.
So then we went into the main show, and the first match was the Falls Count Anywhere match, Roman Reigns versus King Corbin. Going into this, I had zero interest in this match, and I ended up predicting the outcome wrong. I thought Corbin was going to win, and this was going to continue even longer, but Roman Reigns won.
I thought this was the weakest match of the night for me.
Yep.
This one dragged on and on and on.
21 minutes.
The whole thing, for me, it felt like filler. And not the kind of filler that I think you were picturing the Sheamus Shorty G match being. This was long, drawn out. They just took a walk around the arena, stumbling over each other. It's the kind of thing that I would take off air, because I'm sure the crowd loved it. I'm sure it was great if you were sitting in the stands to have, one of these guys take a garbage can over the head, 2 rows down from you. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that was really cool if you were sitting there, in the first few rows, but there was nothing particularly interesting. Nobody juiced. I'm still waiting for that food fight I've been begging for 6 months now.
Hey, you did get a porta potty spot.
And again, the porta potty, I was getting messages from friends that were saying, okay, so he gets dumped over in a porta potty and he comes out totally clean. At least put some blue dye in there or something. This is just crazy. So again, it's another one of those instances like we talked about with the AEW, dark match or whatever, lights out match, sorry. Where it's like, it's just so extreme that it sort of pulls you out of kayfabe again, and you can no longer willfully suspend your disbelief. I thought it was a bad match. I thought it was all filler. Both guys were in the Royal Rumble. Everyone knew that that's what they were focused on, and I think the show would have been a lot better without it.
Yeah. Both of them came in at the Royal Rumble, and neither one of them were selling their injuries from their Falls Count Anywhere.
Yeah.
So after that match, we got the first of our 2 Royal Rumble matches, the Women's Royal Rumble. Went 54 minutes and 20 seconds, with, surprisingly, Charlotte Flair winning. Now, some say surprisingly, some may have predicted this happening, but I was really hoping for that Shayna Baszler win.
Yeah, listen, for me, the performer of this match, and I totally didn't expect it, but I have to give credit where credit is due. I have to give it to Bianca Belair.
Yep.
She had an exceptional match. She made it, I think, 30 or 35 minutes. She was in that match for forever. She came in number 2 with Alexa Bliss, who also had an exceptional performance. Both of those women wrestled very well in that match.
They both lasted, I think, 13 or 14 entrants, and then it was down to those first 2 for the next minute and a half, 2 minutes.
Yeah, Bianca Belair had 8 eliminations all on her own, which I'm pretty sure, yes, that was the best of the night.
Yep.
I'm sorry, it tied Shayna Baszler for the best of the night.
Best
So,
on the women's side.
What's that?
Best on the women's side.
On the women's side. And she had to keep in mind, she wasn't Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler came in at number 30. So she just came in and cleared the ring. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Bianca Belair had to fight, had to work through the matches, had new people coming in every minute and a half. She got worked over. Baszler only spent 4.5 minutes inside that ring. She came in to clear house and bring it down to the final 3 or 4.
Yep.
Okay, Bianca Belair did work. I give her a lot of credit. She had a hell of a match. I'm not the biggest Bianca Belair fan. She definitely grew on me in this match.
Yeah, definitely. So going into this match, there were only 7 women announced, so there was a lot of space to fill. Let's run through these entrants really quick. So like you said, it started with Alexa Bliss at 1. Bianca Belair came in at 2. Then number 3, the first legend spot, which I predicted, Mighty Molly Holly. Now she looked a little rough, but still a pretty nice surprise.
It's always good to see Molly. The crowd didn't feel like they were quite as much into it. Maybe there weren't too many people that were well aware of Mighty Molly, like in the back or whatever. But I mean, compared to most of the legends, she got a lot more exposure. She was in that match for over 10 minutes.
Yep.
So she got some work in.
So after Molly was Nikki Cross, so Bliss Cross was in there working together for a while. Then Lana, then new NXT signee, 20-year vet, Mercedes Martinez. She's a favorite of mine.
She's good. No better way to premiere than at the Royal Rumble. You're going to see her get a lot more exposure. This is going to get referenced to in NXT. And as a 20-year veteran, I think you're going to see her be one of the next people. And this is a long shot, don't get me wrong. I think she's going to get called up to WWE, to one of the main 2 rosters pretty soon.
I would hope so, yeah, definitely. So after that was Liv Morgan. Then Mandy Rose, who had one of, if not the best spot of the night, which we'll talk about in a minute. After that, Candice LeRae, Sonya Deville, Kairi Sane, Mia Yim from NXT, Dana Brooke, a returning Tamina, which got 0 crowd reaction, Dakota Kai, Chelsea Green, a lot of NXT representation in this match, definitely a lot more than we'll see in the men's later. At 17 was Charlotte Flair. 18 was a returning Naomi with a
and
massive
she got a better crowd response.
Yeah, she hasn't been seen in so long. They were happy to see her.
Yep.
And then the next one kind of swerved me a little bit. Beth Phoenix at number 19.
Yeah, she's billed from NXT.
Oh yeah, she's an announcer at NXT.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. And something happened in the back of her head very early in that match, and it dyed her hair red.
Yep. She lasted to the final 3.
She spent, I think, 25 minutes inside that match, and something happened. I couldn't see what happened, but the back of her head just started turning redder and redder, and her hair was just soaking up all the blood. It was getting all over the other wrestlers.
Yep.
And that was badass.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, it was pretty badass.
So number 20 was Toni Storm of NXT. And then 21, another returning legend, ? And another one that I predicted, Kelly Kelly.
She looked very good. She could come back to the ring any day.
She'd have to learn how to wrestle first.
Well, if her career is any indication, that is not a requirement.
22 was Sarah Logan. Again, had no showing whatsoever in this match, as has been the case lately. Then Natalya, Xia Li, Zelina Vega, Shotzi Blackheart from NXT, who I'm a big fan of. Carmella, Tegan Knox, a controversial entrant, Santina Marella. I really wasn't watching wrestling when Santina, or Santino, as he is more often known, was really around, so this really didn't mean much to me. It was just a comedy spot. He had some dealings with Beth Phoenix and with Natalya, and then he eliminated himself. I could have done without that. Put another NXT person in there.
Yeah, he pulled the Cobra out, and the crowd wasn't feeling it, and he eliminated himself, and the crowd wasn't feeling it, and definitely a miss. Definitely a big miss.
And then finally, number 30 was Shayna Baszler, who, again, I was really hoping and I predicted was going to win, but finally came down to Baszler and Flair, and so I wasn't crazy about this finish.
I'm pretty sure I predicted Flair would win.
We'll have to go back to the tape and see.
I'll have to go back and watch the tape, but I'm pretty sure I said I thought that Flair would win. But, oh, wait a minute. No. I'm sorry. Correction. I said that I thought the winner hadn't been announced yet, and Flair was the first one to announce.
That's right.
So I was wrong.
Yep. So it came down to Shayna and Charlotte, and at one point, Shayna had Charlotte's legs holding her up, and Charlotte is doing a push-up on the top rope. At that point, it would just be a simple matter of just throwing her legs over the rope and dumping her out, and Shayna would have won. That just did not seem like a believable spot to me, and really, I think, kind of made Shayna look like an idiot.
Shayna is, in my opinion, she is becoming the victim of the same disease that Brock Lesnar has. And I think what I mean by that is because she has a very solid history in combat sports, we sort of have this expectation of this higher expectation of them than what we might have for certainly what we would have for a Kelly Kelly. But even someone that's experienced in professional wrestling, like a Mia Yim or a Candice LeRae or a Nikki Cross or a Bianca Belair. And I think that I have a feeling that if almost anybody else was in that same position, you wouldn't feel as strongly about it. But you're holding Shayna Baszler to a higher standard because of her experience in combat sports. I think we need to see it for what it was. Just looking objectively at the situation, any wrestler could have done that, and I think it would be unfair to say, oh my gosh, she eliminated Candice LeRae or Dakota Kai or Chelsea Green or whoever else, by doing that. I think it's harder to willfully suspend your disbelief in situations like that because of who Shayna Baszler is. From the Brock Lesnar standpoint, they get around that by hitting him in the nuts every single time he takes a defeat, which of course we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. But they haven't really found a way to overcome that challenge with Shayna Baszler. So in my opinion, I think that mistake, which was something that Shayna and Charlotte probably developed on their own when they were setting the spots, I think it's something that's forgivable. I think that from Charlotte's perspective, if she's treating Shayna just like she treat any other wrestler, that is something that they would do.
So let's go back and talk about the best spot of this match, arguably one of the best spots of the night, with Mandy Rose. So at one point, Mandy Rose gets tossed over the top rope. She falls onto the apron and then kind of pauses and then slowly rolls off. Now, from what we're looking at on screen, it looked like some kind of screwed up botch, or like she was really... it just looked weird. Then the camera pans over to the side of the ring that's hidden where she fell, and she is laying face down on top of Otis of Heavy Machinery. They sit there for a second, and then he just presses her up. She stands up on him, and then climbs back into the ring and is back in the match for a couple more minutes after that.
That's a good man. That is a good man.
Forget John Cusack and say anything. That was the sweetest thing I've ever seen happen.
That was fantastic.
I don't know, Matt. Will you catch me when I fall?
Not like Otis.
If it was anybody else but Otis, it would not be as entertaining and as funny. The crowd loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to work very well, even live. I mean, I don't know how the people in the stadium didn't see Otis, roll himself out from underneath the ring like that, but it seemed to play really well inside the arena. I thought it was really funny. They were two relatively unserious wrestlers, and nobody expected either one of them to win. I thought it was clever. I thought it was gimmicky, and I thought in small doses that kind of stuff is very interesting and entertaining.
Yeah, it was good. So like we said, Flair won the match. So with her winning, originally I was thinking it's going to be another Becky-Charlotte match at WrestleMania. But reports are saying that's not going to be a case. So where do you think Charlotte's going to go from here? Does she go after Bayley in the SmackDown title? Does she go to NXT and face Rhea Ripley? Does she face Asuka for some reason and go for the tag titles, which seems less likely, but who knows?
I'm not convinced yet that we're not going to see a return of you-know-who. There's still so much time before WrestleMania. I mean, it goes by fast, but we have over 3 months.
For those who don't know who you're talking about, you mean Ronda Rousey.
Sorry. Didn't mean to go all high context on you. Ronda Rousey, yes. I'm not convinced that Ronda Rousey isn't going to be back yet. I know that it won't be a total surprise when Ronda Rousey, it's not going to be like, you're going to take on this mystery opponent. And then there's, there float rumors that, what if it's Beth Phoenix, or, what if it's somebody else? I don't think they're going to do that because WWE is trying to sell subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
WrestleMania is a big subscription time, so you need to announce the big name somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks before. So we'll know by mid-March whether it's going to be her. If it isn't, Bayley Charlotte would not be a very good WrestleMania match.
If they went that route, they would have to put the title on Sasha somehow and have a Sasha Charlotte match, which we've seen 100 times in the past, but it hasn't been recent.
I just want to see intensity from the women's division. I want to see intensity. I want to see just give me something deeper. At least on the men's side, they at least feign it. At least on the men's side, it's like, I need to take care of my family, and you're threatening my son, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, they try and raise the stakes. I want to see... Bayley, ruin Charlotte's engagement party or something. I want to see her crash the engagement party and beat the crap out of her in front of her family or something. And I want to see Ric Flair there, and I want to see some increased intensity. That's really all that I want. At the end of the day, if you get the intensity right, it really doesn't matter who you're matched up against. Just get the intensity right. Get it there. And the women's division is desperate for intensity right now. That's what the boss brought. She brought a level of intensity back when she made her great return. And for a little while there, things looked very exciting and very interesting in the women's division. And things have really simmered out because the intensity is gone. Remember, your dad's in hell, right? I want to see that kind of intensity. I want to see that kind of intensity again. As long as that intensity is there, I don't care. I'm like the dude from Godzilla. Let them fight.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say stay away from engagement parties and weddings, because then you're going back to Lana and Liv and everything. So stay away from that stuff. All right, so after that match, after the Rumble, the Charlotte win kind of killed the crowd a little bit. They weren't too happy. And then the following match was who we were just talking about, Bayley defending her SmackDown title against Lacey Evans. And the crowd was pretty much dead through this whole match. All 9 minutes and 20 seconds of it.
Yeah, they this match was too long, and given the way that it ended, in my opinion,
yep, Bayley won
set
with
themselves
a roll-up.
up. Yep, they set themselves up very well. They had that cute little funny commercial that Lacey Evans did with her daughter, and they had the daughter ringside, and she gave her daughter the hat, and it was just like everything else that WWE seems to do recently. It was a really good setup, and then just a really strong letdown.
Yeah.
I don't know where this storyline goes from here. I think it just dies, and again, I guess evil will always triumph over good is the takeaway here. Very unsatisfactory outcome. Lacey Evans is a much better wrestler and performer than Bayley is. Bayley needs to turn back after she loses the title. I mean, I really don't. The title was on the line, and I like Lacey Evans. That's what gave this match the edge over the Roman Reigns and King Corbin. And of course, it was less than half the length. Right. I mean, that was really the only reason that I rated this one slightly higher than that one. It was a bad match.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a rematch on SmackDown this week, and maybe for some reason then Lacey wins it or some other shenanigans go on. Yeah, I think once Bayley does lose the title, she doesn't just need to turn. She needs to go away for a while and make people miss her and then come back strong.
She seems very tired.
Yeah.
She seems very tired.
So after that, we had the match we were a little skeptical about. The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan in a strap match for the Blue Universal Championship. I thought this ended up being a much better match than we expected.
This was, excepting only the Beth Phoenix incident, this was the bloodiest match of the night. Especially on Daniel Bryan, there were some good strap marks. The Fiend's character is looking much more mortal than it did before. They're definitely setting up Bray Wyatt for a loss, maybe at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
He's looking weaker. He's taking on even sneakier tactics, busting out through the ring and stuff like that. There is a slow erosion to his character that's going on. Clearly, he's eaten through Daniel Bryan. I don't know how they continue this one beyond this point, and I don't really know where they go from here on this one. Obviously, he has to be at WrestleMania, but I don't know who he's going to pick a fight with or whatever.
I think leading into... They might do a match in Saudi Arabia, which they announced as the next show at the end of February. They'll do some match with Kane or somebody else that can easily lose. And then at Elimination Chamber, it'll pivot to Roman Reigns, and he'll face him at Mania. I think they're still going to go that route.
Reigns versus Fiend at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they would make anybody, you're right.
I mean, if you really
They
think
could
about
very
it,
well
who else on SmackDown roster is even at the level to be in a championship match? They haven't
I
really
think
built
you're-
up anyone.
Look, your point is very well taken. WWE doesn't care.
Nope.
They'd have him lose to Shorty G, if that's what they wanted to do.
Actually, yeah, I didn't think about that. Now that Sheamus is back, they could easily start moving him into the championship direction.
I mean, I'd like to see him win the United States Championship. He's definitely a championship level guy.
Oh, right.
Keeping
He's on
him,
Raw. Yeah.
keeping him at the bottom of the roster. I mean, that doesn't make sense long term.
But I gotta say, the best part of this strap match, no red light.
Yeah,
That made this match so much more enjoyable.
I mean, you could actually see the match and
Mhm.
like
You could
take
see
in everything that happened.
their faces.
and-
You could see the Fiend's mask. It was, I don't know why they're gonna go back to that though. I'm
Listen,
sure.
for every good thing that happens, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 bad things. You
Yep.
know, they're experimenting with the Fiend, and they can't all be golden. So I'll forgive them, especially considering that match was junk anyways. So even if the light wasn't red, I'd still be just as pissed off about it. But yeah, this is the consequence of experimentation, right? You're gonna miss 8 shots for every one that you make.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. The last regular singles match of the evening. The Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch defending against Asuka.
This was a good match. I mean, they're both talented wrestlers. They have different styles. Asuka's has been playing up the heel thing really well.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have had it end in a submission. I think I would have just had her pin her. But I thought it put Asuka over really well. But again, just like everything else we've said tonight, I don't know where we go from here on this.
Right.
Like, they've wrestled each other a whole bunch of times. Becky Lynch has finally gotten the last laugh. She's, dodged the green spit of doom or whatever. And she's finally defeated Asuka after taking it in the face multiple times. So I don't really know where we go from here. This one, it didn't linger on too long. I mean, it was a decent match for the two of them. I think this is sort of the type of middle of the road stuff that we've sort of come to expect, where this was probably the highest intensity women's match in recent memory, and I still wasn't, I wasn't enthralled by it at all.
Yeah. Watching this match, I kind of feel like, I mean, I've noticed it before, but especially this match, it feels like Becky has lost a lot of steam. She's not nearly as popular as she was a year and a half ago. And there were a lot of cheers for Asuka in this match, even though she's the heel. I think the crowd is really starting to shift.
You need undulations. You need challenges. You need character development. You need pressure. You need time. And none of those things existed for Bayley for a long time. None of those things existed for John Cena. And now here we are, and none of those things exist. 2 years. How long has it been since it hasn't been 2 years, but she's been sort of in this position for 2 years. How long has she had the women's championship?
Since WrestleMania.
So we're approaching a year now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been too long. You need to add some uncertainty into the mix and to get people to invest in your story.
Again, they haven't built anyone up to be a credible threat to her.
Yeah, it takes time. I mean, it's an investment. I hope she drops the title before WrestleMania. It'll be a good thing for her and for her career, and I hope she loses at WrestleMania.
Wow.
Yeah, I hope she loses at WrestleMania. She's got no calluses. She's like the picture that the frame comes with. There's no dings, there's no scars, there's no imperfections in it. She's the perfect media packaged darling of the WWE. She's tough in all the ways you want a girl to be tough. She's soft and sensitive in all the ways you want a girl to be soft and sensitive. She has a whimsical accent, and she's entertaining. And that's great at first, and then it's not so great anymore. If you've been in this many fights, you should... Again, this is what made the Boss's return so great. She's damaged. She went through a revelation. I've transformed. I'm different now. You know. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So, it's time.
Yep. We'll see what happens after this. And then finally we come to the main event. The Men's Royal Rumble. This match was really two matches put together. First half of the Rumble was the Brock Lesnar show, and then the second half was the actual Royal Rumble. I wasn't crazy about the way this was booked.
Oh, good. I feel almost exactly the opposite.
Oh.
I thought that this was booked well. Up until Brock Lesnar's elimination, I thought it was booked very well. If I'm Brock Lesnar and I want to, and and I don't say this lightly, if this was an MMA fight and I had one round before a second guy joined, what am I going to do? I'm going to bust my ass to knock that guy out, literally, before the next guy comes in. So there's no chance for the numbers game to be a factor. And that's precisely what he did. He knocked everybody out in a minute or less, I think, except for a couple of guys. Everybody else was out before the next guy came in.
Yep. So Brock Lesnar started. He had 13 total eliminations. And like you said, nearly all of them were out within a few seconds of getting into the ring. I see your point about if this were a real fight and whatnot, but I'm looking at it as all these guys that went in there look like chumps. I mean, you had guys returning. So I'll run through the first half of the list here up until Lesnar got eliminated. So it was Brock Lesnar, Elias, Eric Rowan, Robert Roode, John Morrison, Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio, Big E, Cesaro, Shelton Benjamin, Shinsuke Nakamura, a returning MVP, Keith Lee, and Braun Strowman, and Ricochet. Those were the first 15 entrants. So you had guys in here coming back for the first time. John Morrison, MVP. You had the Intercontinental Champion, Shinsuke Nakamura. You had Rey Mysterio. You had former champion Kofi Kingston. All these guys eliminated within a few seconds. I felt like it was a disservice to them.
Sorry, go through that list one more time of the ones you thought looked like chumps that shouldn't have looked like chumps.
Well, if I go through all of them, I mean, Elias.
Okay, Elias is a chump. He's a gimmick, right? He's a wrestler. He can wrestle. That's not how they're using him.
Robert Roode.
Robert Roode shared the tag team titles for a while and just came back off of a wellness
John Morrison.
suspension. John Morrison is one that they should be doing more with.
He used to be like Kofi in that he always had that special moment in the match where you think he's eliminated and he's not.
I agree with that. But they haven't built him up at all since they brought him back.
Well, that's what I mean.
So,
he just came back. He's been back for 2 weeks.
So now you see my point.
This would have been the time to build him up.
You don't lose anything by... Look, if John Morrison is in the match for 20 minutes, that doesn't build him up. Is anyone going to look back and go, yeah, but John Morrison made it 20 minutes into that match?
They do that, actually.
I don't think so, man. I don't think anyone is looking at Edge right now and saying, he made it 20 minutes. They're saying, Edge has been retired for 9 years.
Way to ruin the surprise, dude.
Okay.
I didn't get there yet.
Did you not play the tease at the beginning of this? I specifically mentioned Edge in my tease.
You did? I didn't get that.
I just thought it was a well-versed intro.
I thought you were a wordsmith.
Kofi Kingston has already been squashed by him. Rey Mysterio made it, I think, the longest stretch of anybody, and before he got eliminated. Big E has been chomped. Cesaro has been jobbing and losing over and over and over again. You want to talk about a guy that's been getting bad booking. Shelton Benjamin has been chomped up. Shinsuke Nakamura, everybody knows he's a paper champion, and he's been dodging actual real matches, and he's had to cheat his way through up until now. MVP did not look like an MVP, and henceforth only made it 20 seconds. And, this is... Again, the crowd didn't really feel like they were into it that much.
Yeah, no one was really into MVP
and Keith Lee, while he did actually end up getting eliminated by Brock Lesnar in the end, you had to know that nobody from NXT. I know you were hoping that Keith Lee would end up winning this match, but I think deep down in your heart of hearts that there was no way Keith Lee was taking this match.
No, I thought Roman Reigns was going to win, but I was hoping Keith Lee would.
So I don't think any one of those characters are set back as a result of not making it, more than a minute through a match with Brock Lesnar. I just, especially when that match doesn't even require a pin, it just, you toss him over the top rope. I don't think any one of these guys took a hit.
Quick sidetrack. Do you think that lends any discredibility to any other battle royals, though, where guys are fighting and clawing and can't get someone over that top rope? You think that ruins any kayfabe as far as those other matches? Or is Brock Lesnar just a superhuman beast?
You mean when you got
any other battle royal?
Got like 3 guys trying to tip somebody over the top ropes, and they're just hanging there, burning time.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but if the camera guy is smart, he's not pointed at that. And if you're watching a ring and there's 12 guys in it, and 4 guys are over in the corner, and 3 of them are trying to dump one guy over, you're not paying attention to that part of the match anyways. Because that's boring and you know where it's going. Now, if they're trying to dump, the Big Show, okay, that's interesting. If they're trying to dump Vader or the Great Khali or any one of these humongous spectacles that the WWE's been known for in the past, that might be interesting. But, I saw more of that in the women's match than I saw in the men's match. There was a lot more of that kind of the Royal Rumble equivalent of a double down or a triple down, where someone's just awkwardly angled up against the corner and a bunch of people are trying to push against her. And
Charlotte Flair at the end of the match. And
you always kind of wonder what they're saying to each other, if they're like, hey, you want to get some dinner after this? Something like that. You always kind of, that would be an interesting thing. Maybe we should mic some of them up here and see what they're saying. That would be interesting.
Where the match ended up, I was okay with, but yeah, watching it in real time, I really wasn't crazy about this beginning. But I don't know. Let's let the viewer be the judge. So after Ricochet came in at 15, he and Lesnar fought for a bit, and then number 16 came Drew McIntyre, and this is where the match turned. McIntyre and Lesnar are facing each other, and then Ricochet comes up behind, and the only way to beat Lesnar is to kick him in the balls. And with that, Drew McIntyre eliminates Lesnar.
So, obviously, you couldn't have Drew McIntyre take Lesnar out straight up and then have a decent WrestleMania match. But there were plenty of other ways you could have had. You could have had Strowman do something to Lesnar and then have Drew McIntyre throw him out. Maybe Strowman hits a finisher on him or something. Or he disorients him in some way, or he tricks him in some way, and he ends up going out. But the fact that you had Ricochet, who's, just a real baby face, be the one to do the nut shot, that I thought took Ricochet down a peg. Yep. I think the only person whose reputation was really damaged, whose character was really damaged by this match, was Ricochet. He's the big loser of the match for me. I would have rather seen him go out in 24 or 25 seconds like some of the guys in the beginning than have him do the nut shot. Now, if this is an actual choreographed heel turn, like it appears that's what's happening with Randy Orton right now, I won't feel quite as strongly about it. But it needs to be a hard heel turn right now. Hard heel turn. I mean, to do a nut shot like that when you're the superhero, that's really not chill. So, yeah, that's a problem.
Yep. But if this booking Lesnar in the match the way it did was meant for anything, the crowd went nuts when he got eliminated. That's another sign that it worked. And that I'll give him to.
Yeah, it worked. If he'd done that to 5 guys and then taken a dump, they would have cheered loud because you love seeing Lesnar lose, but it wouldn't have mattered. And maybe they thought they could get away with it with Ricochet. Maybe they know it's like, well, if everybody's hitting Lesnar in the nuts, then we may as well have the superhero do it. I don't know.
So after Drew, we had The Miz, AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Carl Anderson, and then the biggest moment, the best moment of the night, the biggest pop by far, at number 21, Edge.
Yeah, this one, there was some speculation. I think Edge's name came up in our preview conversation, and we just kind of poo-pooed it, right? He's taken some pretty hard stances about not coming back. We all know about the injuries to his neck and how those seem to be career-ending. And he came back, and he looked exceptional. Mm-hmm. He looked great. He looked better than Sheamus. He looked better than he did when he was. I mean, I think you got to go back to the 90s to find a period of time in which he looked better than he did now.
Yeah.
He looked great. He looked his age. Don't get me wrong. He looked every single one of his years. But he was lean. He was mean. He was cut. I mean, you can even see there was a point in the match in which Orton kind of looked him over and was like, "Man, you look good. You're cut. You're trim. Let's do this." And there was a nice little moment there where I think that they eliminated Carl Anderson, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Wasn't it the OC? I think they eliminated both the OC guys simultaneously. Yep. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. And there was a nice little moment, and they did a little heel turn trick there with Randy Orton that ended up backfiring on him, and Edge ended up eliminating him. Look, Edge was in this match for over 20 minutes.
He was one of the final 3.
Yeah, he was one of the last guys in the match. Man, if he's back for good now, it's really good to see him. And he has now the best theme song in WWE.
Yeah, by far.
He has retaken that illustrious title. It's him, Ricochet, and then probably Seth Rollins.
What about Aleister Black?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it's all right. I guess it's not better than Edge's. It's not better than Ricochet's. And I do not believe it's better than Seth Rollins.
Wow.
It's okay. It's okay.
So, I mentioned earlier when Beth Phoenix went in that I got a little swerved here. So, earlier in the day, I saw reports that Edge was seen in Houston, that he was definitely going to be in the match, blah, blah, blah. Then when I saw Beth enter the Women's Rumble, I thought to myself, oh, Edge is just there to support his wife. He's not going to be in the Rumble. So when his music hit, I lost it. I jumped up off the couch. I was going nuts.
And you could see it. I mean, first of all, I heard the "You Think You Know Me," and I'm like, why do I know that? why do I know what that is? There's a split second where and then the crowd popped so hard you could not hear his music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was just screams, and he ran out, and then he disappeared. I don't know what he was doing.
The fog.
He disappeared. The fog came out. He ran back into the fog. I don't know if he was kind of waving to the crowd or something, but he came back out. And he stood there, and he was just kind of slowly walking. You could see him looking around like,
He was.
I cannot believe.
Yeah, you could
that
tell
I
he was
am-
getting emotional.
Like, I cannot believe that I am doing this right now. Like, this is it. There was this incredible sense of achievement and, emotional investment. And, he was given his own fun little entrance thing. They had some
Pyro.
fireworks for him, so they knew it was going to be a big deal. And he dropped his coat, and he ran to the ring, and he went to work. And
And the camera missed his first spear in 9 freaking years.
1,000 lashings with a wet noodle.
Ugh.
For whoever producer, oh my
It's
God,
all Kevin
there
done.
is a special place in hell for someone that F's up that spot. I don't know how you tell camera 3 you are Edge's best friend, and you are going to stare at him the entire time, and as soon as he starts running, you cut to camera 3 and you leave it there for a solid minute. Nothing else in that ring is more important. If someone gets their head cut off, we'll watch it on replay, because it's not more important than seeing Edge and his first spear. And whatever boneheaded producer made that mistake and did not cut to camera 3,
Yeah, they cut to the crowd. They
I
weren't
do
even
not-
on the ring.
I do not even know. WWE, if you're hiring, I can produce better than that guy, okay? Because that is a huge mistake. That is just insane. That is insanely bad. So,
Yeah, so I posted the entrance and his first little things. I posted a video of it on our Facebook, so definitely go check that out. It was fantastic.
now his third spear
Yeah, I was just gonna
was
say that.
probably the most iconic one. Oh, that's the one with hang time. He ended up injuring AJ Styles.
Yep.
AJ kind of came down kind of hard.
He tried
and-
to sell it and do a backflip, and he landed on his shoulder.
And at first I didn't think too much of it, but then if you look over, you can see Gallows and Carl Anderson, and they're looking quite concerned. And then it kind of cut over to another area of the ring, and then you just kind of see AJ go flying out of the ring, and Edge just sort of throws him outside of the ring.
Yeah, they had to
and you're
get him
kind of
out
like,
there.
yeah, something happened there. AJ's not okay. Something bad happened.
So the
there.
report right now is that it's likely a separated shoulder.
Oof.
So
Ouch.
he'll be out for a little while. Hopefully he'll be back in time for WrestleMania, but I'm not sure right now.
Yeah, that's a brutal one.
Yep. All right, so let's round out this the entrance here. After Edge, we had King Corbin, Matt Riddle, Luke Gallows, Randy Orton, like you said, Rated RKO got back together, Roman Reigns at 26, Kevin Owens, Aleister Black, Samoa Joe, and number 30 was Seth Rollins. There were a lot of other guys that were announced for the match that they ended up pulling. I'm not sure why. I'm assuming just so they can further the Raw stories.
Heavy machinery.
Heavy Machinery was announced. Bobby Lashley and Rusev were announced. Buddy Murphy, he came out with Seth Rollins, but originally he was supposed to be in the match too.
I mean, they at least mentioned that, you know, they at least acknowledged, hey, you know, Lashley and Rusev were supposed to be here, but they're not. We don't know what's going on. They didn't even acknowledge.
No, yeah, they said they got in a brawl in the parking lot earlier and they injured themselves.
Oh, yeah. That's right. No. You're right. I remember that now.
And then neither one of them were on Raw the next night either. So
and they're not medically cleared.
That's
as
right.
a result. It's like, okay, so the next time someone's assaulted backstage before their main event match on Raw, we'll make sure that they're not medically cleared.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a certain level of consistency on that. So I think they could have came up with something better than that.
Yep. So yeah, it came down to the final three: Edge, Roman Reigns, and Drew McIntyre. Roman Reigns eliminated Edge, and the crowd booed to no end.
Yeah, they wanted Edge to win.
At one point, Roman Reigns nearly eliminated Drew, and the crowd booed to no end. I don't know if this was more of a smart mark crowd, but at least in this instance, it seems like Roman's back to his old ways of not being liked by anyone. In a surprise turn, Drew McIntyre ends up winning the Royal Rumble. First time he's ever won. Huge crowd response. Everyone loved it. Because Drew won or because Roman lost. Either way. And then the very next night on Raw, he says he's going after Lesnar. So it's Drew versus Lesnar at WrestleMania.
That'll be a good match. I mean, if there's anybody that can take Lesnar down without punching him in the nuts, it's going to be McIntyre.
Yeah.
I think it's so tough when you're in this situation to sell it the right way. Drew's a big guy and he's a capable guy, but he's not nearly as experienced as Lesnar. I think if you're going to have Lesnar lose, you're going to have Lesnar drop the title. You need to have him drop it to a guy like McIntyre. He's the best of both worlds. McIntyre has cut his teeth, even though he hasn't really gone through all the titles and he hasn't followed the process. I think he's cut his teeth enough in the organization now that, you know, he's ready to take him on a major title. He's been able to sort of leapfrog some of the lower titles.
So that was the show. What'd you think overall? What do you rate that?
I think it was a good show. I give it a 7 out of 10. It was worth the subscription.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I might even go a little higher. I'd say 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. There were a few parts that I wasn't crazy about, but overall, it was I definitely went to bed happy. So, next is a show in Saudi Arabia, Super Showdown, I think. I don't know. I don't really feel the need to, unless they announce some stellar matches. I feel like it's just going to be another waste of time like the last several.
Yeah, it'll be inconsequential. It's not.
If it leads to another awesome NXT invasion, I'm all for that.
We'll have to see what happens.
And then after that, it's Elimination Chamber in March, and then finally WrestleMania at the beginning of April. So we got a little good stuff coming up. Definitely stay tuned to our social media and channels, and we still got the expose on the XFL coming up. So stay tuned for that. It's starting up in a week and a half, 2 weeks.
The 8th, first Saturday after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so just over a week. Yep. And be sure to comment below what you thought of the show, what your favorite match was, what you liked, what you didn't like. Chat us up.
Yeah, really looking forward to covering the XFL, and definitely going to be targeting specifically the rule changes that are associated with it and what makes the product unique as compared to the NFL. We think that the XFL has made some significant changes that are really going to change the nature and really make the games much more exciting. We live in a pretty fast-paced world with very short feedback loops, and it's a very action, high-impact environment. And I think that the Vince McMahon and the XFL has done a really effective job of trying to increase player safety while also accelerating the game and creating more opportunities for exciting moments inside the game, and of course shortening the game as well. So it'll be interesting to see how those things play out, and it's very difficult to get a really good idea of what it really means. We're going to be talking in a very abstract way, because until you actually see how the game plays, it's kind of very difficult to explain it. But we're going to do our best to walk you through it and talk about why we think it's going to be really exciting and interesting. So until then, please don't ever forget, follow the money, always keep kayfabe, and we'll keep wrestling with the business.
That intro was punny.